Mt Alexandra is a beautiful public reserve near the New South Wales town of Mittagong, about 110 kilometres southwest of Sydney. I hear it's a popular rock climbing location in the region. Well, what do you think happens to popular rock climbing locations in Australia in recent years? They get banned. The headlines read, Australian Climbing Association, local council bans climbing at Mt Alexandra crag near Mittagong. And Vertical Life, climbing bans at Mt Alexandra. Mt Alexandra has been closed without consultation. But can you guess why the bans are in place? I think you can. MSN. Aussies suddenly banned from popular mountain to protect Aboriginal heritage. Yes, the protection of Aboriginal heritage is being used again to ban public access to Australia's natural wonders. Apparently, there are charcoal motifs on some of the climbing faces, drawings that climbers for years genuinely mistook for children's scribbles. The so-called damage was mainly from climbers' chalk dusting onto the drawings over decades, although natural erosion and water damage had also taken their toll. However, the Aboriginal significance of these drawings was not discovered by the authorities until 2009. Critically, this information was never passed on to local climbing groups. It was only in June 2025 that the climbing community became aware of the cultural significance, and they immediately reached out to the local Aboriginal people to come up with a solution. Working together, they swiftly removed climbing bolts near the artwork and made all climbers aware of the cultural significance. Climbers themselves decided to stop climbing near the artwork, and the local Aboriginal community were reportedly happy with this, and were also happy for them to continue climbing elsewhere along the rock face. So why the ban? Why tear up a perfect example of successful coexistence? Who was responsible for deciding that Australians are not allowed to climb their local natural wonders anymore? The local council, of course. The Wingecarribee Shire Council made the rash, unilateral decision to impose a total ban without consulting the very community that had just demonstrated its commitment to protecting the heritage. On the council's website, on their Greater Mt Alexandra Reserve page, they write, certain areas are closed to climbing due to irreversible damage occurring to Aboriginal heritage. Council cannot disclose locations or the type of Aboriginal heritage. Please respect closure signs. So basically, you just have to trust there is Aboriginal art in these locations and do your civic duty and stop climbing. Noting this is the same local council that had a NAIDOC 2025 flag-raising ceremony, which included all the crowd favourites, such as a welcome to country, a smoking ceremony, and a raising of the Aboriginal flag. Of course, we don't have to raise the Australian flag. Don't be daft. They also have pages dedicated to Aboriginal cultural burning in bushland reserves, First Nations weaving school holiday activity, and as of August 2024, they have an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander acknowledgement of country policy. I'd be interested how many Torres Strait Islanders originally inhabited Mt Alexandra, seeing that their traditional homeland is around 2,500 kilometres away off the coast of far north Queensland. But back to their acknowledgement to country policy. I thought it was acknowledgement of country, but who am I to critique? Oh, it's an interesting read, all 8 pages of it. They include all the usual facts. Aboriginal culture is recognised as one of the world's oldest living cultures, and that the council acknowledges Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, specifically the Gundungurra and Dharawal people. Again, I ask, how do the geographically irrelevant Torres Strait Islander people fit into this? They include a suggested wording for an acknowledgement of country for online meetings, just what I love to hear at every single Zoom meeting. They have policy surrounding smoking ceremonies, noting that it's a ritual of purification and unity, and is always undertaken by an Aboriginal person. So, if you're a 5th-generation Caucasian Mittagong local, you cannot possibly learn how to do a smoking ceremony because you have the wrong ethnic background. Definitely not racist. And as a council worker, if you don't participate in these ceremonies, there will be repercussions. Yes, this is an actual photo of one of the councillors bowing down to the smoking ceremony. The policy states, non-compliance with this policy should be reported to Manager Community Life and Libraries, who will investigate and determine the appropriate course of action. That's right, Welcome to Country is not optional. You will participate at all costs. Speaking of costs, probably something you could have guessed by now, fee for services. This is another type of acknowledgement. It is important to acknowledge that Aboriginal people are using their intellectual property whenever they carry out a cultural ceremony or any activity, and it is appropriate that they receive payment for the service. Of course there's money involved. We already knew that. So the Windsor-Carribbee Shire Council are using their power to tell their workers what they should and shouldn't do, even threatening to investigate non-compliance with their policies. But now they're also telling you, the public, what you should and shouldn't climb. Local government overreach, anyone?